Welcome to our hen house. This is Jasmine Singer.
This is Marianne Sullivan.
And we're so happy you're joining us for this week's show. Marianne's guest will be the wonderful Asher Brown, who is a video producer and the founder of Pollution.tv. And he's using his many platforms to change the world for animals. I'm excited about this interview. He's all the buzz here in Los Angeles.
Really cool guy.
Mm-hmm. And you will be here later with Rising Anxieties, which I'm also looking forward to.
I am as well. I hope you enjoy it. So this week on our bonus segment, which is available, of course, to all Flock members, you and I will be discussing some favorite vegan items available at Trader Joe's and talking about our recent trip there, which was exciting for me because I never get to go there. I always hear about these crazy vegan products at Trader Joe's and never get to try them. So I hope that will be of use to people. And if you're a member of the Flock, you'll get the email the Tuesday after this podcast goes up with that link, or you can find the link on the Flock Facebook page. If you're not a member of the Flock, of course, you can join for $10 a month at ourhenhouse.org/donate, and we'd really appreciate it if you did.
I had a lot of fun at Trader Joe's with you, by the way. I go there all the time, but there are many near where I live, and I know it's like
none near where I live.
I know, it's crazy. It's like I remember that about like New York specifically, that sometimes if you were near one, there were lines like around the block to get in.
Well, that was the one on 14th Street because I think it was at the time, it was one of the only ones.
One of the only, yeah.
Seriously, there were lines out the door just to get in the store.
I know. It was crazy.
From time to time. I mean, at other times, it wasn't quite that crowded, but still, it was always packed. So, and it wasn't that close to where I live, so I didn't really get there. So I'm a Trader Joe's neophyte.
Well, we had a great time. I had a great. I was actually, maybe you had a terrible time. I have no idea. But I was
grocery shopping. It wasn't a laugh riot.
I was broadening it to just the whole visit as a whole. That day we were in Troy, New York, which is near Albany, and I think we both kind of fell in love with Troy. Of course, there was both a vegan store that was not open on Tuesdays and a new vegan restaurant coming, but opening like a couple weeks later. And
then a Moroccan restaurant that has loads of vegan food
also closed that day.
The whole reason for going to Troy that was actually closed.
We
found some good Korean vegan food.
Bibimbap. Bibimbap, so good.
It was fun.
Yeah. And then the Trader Joe's thing happened. But that same trip, I was there for like a mixture of reasons, including work-related reasons, but still had time to do some fun things, of course. And one of them was eat, because that's fun. And I don't even know the vegan food scene in New York anymore, despite having lived there for 20 years and going back like every month.
It changes so fast. I don't really know it. I don't know whether anybody knows it. You have to go out to eat all the time to figure it out.
But two of the like main kind of, people in the vegan food scene are Matthew Kenny and Ravi Darasi, and we got to try both Matthew Kenny things and Ravi Darasi things. So pinch me, because I don't want to wake up. But the Ravi Darasi experience was like kind of a friends and family thing.
Pinch me, because I don't want to wake up. Like, what does that mean?
All right, pinch me. Am I dreaming? That's kind of what I meant.
Oh, all right.
It didn't come out right. Don't pinch me. It'll hurt. Just stop being so violent. Why are you pinching me? So the Ravi Darasi thing was like a new forthcoming restaurant and bar called Honeybees, which is in the East Village. All of the places I'm about to talk about are in the East Village. And it was kind of like piano ragtime music playing and like...
It was kind of an Old West theme.
Yeah.
It was really interesting. I haven't seen a theme like that. It was like going to Westworld. Well, I guess
kind
it
of
going Westworld because it didn't have it like homicidal robots or whatever it is that's in Westworld.
Aside from that,
other than that,
there was like
there's like
ribs,
red flocked wallpaper, and
right?
Yeah, it's really cute.
Vegan ribs, yeah, it was really good. I really loved that, and the East Village was like. Definitely a stomping ground for me during the trip, because also Matthew Kenny, of course, has like a whole block of vegan restaurants, and we went to 3 of them in one meal because I was covering it for Veg News' social media. So we started out
big meal.
we started out at Bar Verde, which I have to say I think was my favorite of all three. And
yeah, I think it was mine too. And it might have been because I was really hungry when I got there, which always makes things yummy.
Well, it was like a Mexican concept.
And it was super good.
Right.
Yeah.
So good.
And I love Mexican food.
Oh, and one of the things they gave me a cocktail that usually has an egg white in it, which, by the way, ew, what the hell? That's so disgusting.
I mean, not at Matthew Kenny's restaurant.
No, they usually does in like your traditional oppressive world, but in the non-oppressive world of Matthew Kenny, they made the like egg part out of beer, and it totally worked. It was like this creamy kind of thick white layer.
I didn't realize it was out of beer. Like, who would want egg whites if they could have beer?
It's a really good question. But it was so good. All of the nachos were outstanding. It was all so great. Then
it's not just Tex-Mex food. It's like kind of sophisticated Mexican food too. Very yummy.
And then next door to Double Zero for high-end pizza. I think you had been there before. I have
been there. It's always delicious.
There are now several locations of Double Zero in this country. And I believe there's a frozen line as well, or there's going to be. Matthew Kenny, I have an interview with him in this issue, the current issue of Veg News magazine. So pick it up because he doesn't sleep. He like kind of admitted he doesn't sleep. I don't sleep either, but I want to. That's the difference.
Yeah, I don't sleep that much, but I don't open like 12 restaurants.
Yeah, 25.
I just stay up at night and try to get to sleep.
You told me about a podcast to listen to called Sleep with Me. And it's a podcast to make you fall asleep. And
it's pretty amazing.
I really hope no one does that listening to our podcast.
Yeah, maybe that's what
Speaking of which,
people are falling asleep right now.
I will not wake up. I will not say which one it is, but you and I were interviewed for someone's podcast like over a decade ago. The podcast doesn't exist anymore, but we were like in the same room and the person interviewing us was on the phone and you fell asleep while we were being interviewed.
During the interview, it was really boring. It really was.
Oh, please. I hope that doesn't happen with any of our guests. Okay. So after Double Zero, we went next door again to Plant Food and Wine, which is fancy. And we had dessert there and yet another cocktail I had. And it was just so
that crazy
lovely.
tiramisu. It was deconstructed tiramisu. Yeah. Don't ask me to explain.
Yeah.
You just have to experience it.
Yeah. And we saw the prom, which I have nothing animal rightsy to say about it.
The prom, or is it called prom?
It's called The Prom, and
right.
I think it's going to win the Tony. But if you're going to see a show in New York, see it because it's just fun.
It did get nominated. I'm not sure it's in the front runner. It's really good though. It's like an old school kind of musical, like lots of dance numbers. It's very funny. It was really charming. I loved it.
There was this T-shirt that I wanted so much that they were selling, and it said, the T-shirt said, "We are all lesbians," and I didn't get it. So
it has a lesbian theme.
If you want to get it for me, I'll take a size large, and not to you, Marianne, but just to anyone. All right, I thought I would try that, but I guess I don't need the T-shirt that says "We are all lesbians" because I already know we are all lesbians. So why wear a shirt about it?
Online.
Yeah, probably. Okay, I'll look. Anyway, but we did also another kind of an interesting thing that is related, I think, to animals, because you actually brilliantly related it to animals, which is that we went to see a sing-along of Fiddler on the Roof at Symphony Space. Yeah, so
70s.
It was at Symphony Space,
which is such a great movie. It really holds up.
My God, it's the best. I like wept copiously the whole time. And
yeah, you started crying at the beginning and you didn't stop until the end. Yeah.
And it's like an 8-hour movie. Oh, it's like maybe 3 hours. But
yeah, that was fun. We got to sing along. I love a nice sing.
I kept trying to sing, but I would like cry, so I'd stop. I mean, it was like I also had PMS, but maybe that's why. But anyway, the
PMS is TMI.
You. You were like, oh, there's some nice animal themes, and there are oddly in Fiddler on the Roof.
Say this. I mean, it's a little bit of a stretch to say that this is animal related, but I have to say, like Tevye in Fiddler on the Roof he's a milkman, and so that's not very animal friendly. And he has a draft horse, and that's not animal friendly. So, what you say, am I talking about? But it was just the attitude towards the animals, it was from a different time in a different place where people really thought it was necessary, and maybe it was, I don't know, at those times. Who cares? Because it's not now. Necessary to use these animals. So in that context, there were just a few scenes where there's a real warmth of seeing, he understood that the horse kept getting lame, and he understood that the animals were living, breathing creatures who had, their own problems, and there was just something unusual about that.
Right.
I was hardly an animal rights theme.
No,
but
I agree.
There was something touching about the fact that the animals were recognized as real and having their own lives.
I agree. It was sweet, and it's just, there was just so much oppression. I mean, just so much sadness, just in general, and like obviously coming to this now. I think the movie was made in like 1971 or around thereabouts, just like, and took place probably around the turn of the 20th century, I'm going to guess, coming at it from 2019 as an animal rights activist. Obviously, we always see these themes, and we always see the overlaps between the various oppressions and the arbitrary nature of like.
I think there were a couple of other things. One, doesn't have anything to do with animals, but I think this movie is not just about a particular time or place, or even specifically only about Jews, and what happened to them and all of those horrors. You realize watching it nowadays that it's very much about people who lose their place and have to migrate to somewhere else. And certainly that is a theme that exists like overwhelmingly right now and is only going to get bigger. And, the idea that we should have sympathy towards such people and understand the terrible pain of what they're going through is, kind of a unique idea in today's world, at least among some people. So that was one thing and then I wanted to harken back to one thing I remembered about another piece of the animal friendliness, like the old guy who wants to marry one of Tevye's daughters, who, he starts out being friendly to him, and then, they have a falling out, is a butcher. And when Tevye is criticizing him for some reason, he calls him, how did he get so rich? Murdering innocent animals or something along those lines, which I thought was an extraordinary thing.
Yes, I looked at you. I agree. Exactly. Yeah. Oh, it's so good. Well, Fiddler is so good. It's so good. I just, I wish I was there for the whole series at Symphony Space, which was fun because that's where we recorded Sanctuary, where with the radio play that we did for our hen house last year. Actually, it was 2 years ago now, I think. So cool to be on the other end of that.
Which is on the podcast, if anybody hasn't listened to it. Go listen to it now.
Yeah,
it's very good.
Very good.
It's very good. What kind?
So, speaking of Jews, that was a good. Thank you.
This is the worst. That's the worst.
That was a good segue
you've ever come up with.
Let's talk about Ezra Klein. Yeah. I was telling someone today about how he's vegan. I was like doing this media pitch meeting about this other project I'm working on, and I was like, Ezra Klein's vegan, and the guy was like, really? And he is.
He totally is. He's seriously vegan. If people don't, there might be some people listening from far off places who don't know who Ezra Klein is, and he has a podcast, a terrific podcast, but he's also the head of Vox Media. He's very, very successful in media, and a very thoughtful guy, and he's, somewhat famously, at least famously to us, vegan. And I was listening to his latest podcast, which was an Ask Ezra Anything episode, which is, where people write in questions and, they're curated, and then he spends the episode just answering these questions. And veganism came up a couple of times, but one that I thought was particularly notable, he was asked, which I really love, he addressed this issue. He was asked by somebody who had written in about climate change, or as we're supposed to call it now, climate catastrophe, which makes so much more sense. And the fact that beef is so much worse for the climate than chicken. And Ezra has had Bruce Friedrich on, and maybe others, I think it was Bruce Friedrich, who talking about the fact that chickens, from the point of view of animal suffering, are so much worse because you're killing so many more animals. And he even made the point that, within the context of animal agriculture, cows are probably treated better than, most of the other animals, which doesn't mean it's any, it's still bad, and chickens, and this is literally the term that he used, are tortured to death. And the fact that he was talking about this and the conclusion he came to was really remarkable, I thought, because he said, I know that some people dispute it, but I'll accept for purposes of answering this question that the impact of chicken agriculture really is much, much less than beef. But even accepting that, and I just didn't expect him to go there. He said, I just don't think it's our fault that climate change exists. I don't think you can excuse continuing to do this to these animals, just so that you can have a lesser impact on climate change when you could just go vegan. I mean, I'm paraphrasing, but and he said, and it's not even a sacrifice because the food is great and it's good for your health and it's good for everything. And he said, but even if for you it is a sacrifice, so what? So make a sacrifice. You can make a small sacrifice. That's not such a terrible thing to have to do. It was amazing. Yeah, it was really strong. And, I've heard even people who, fancy themselves animal activists being waffly about this issue. So I was really glad to hear that.
Yeah. We are such a gluttonous people, I was like,
Humans
I was writing
disgusting. Excuse me to our listeners.
Except for them,
as far as I know. But humans are just gross. I mean, it's like we're just the most awful species.
I was, I'm writing a book about veganism right now, and I was on the chapter about fashion. I was on the chapter about, specifically, I was writing about fur, and it's actually, I was writing about the alternatives, and there's not, there are faux furs that are definitely vegan. Obviously, there's faux furs that are not at all faux, because dog and cat hair, there's so much of a surplus. Aren't really
faux furs.
Right. But there are,
furs.
Exactly. But there are actually vegan faux fur companies.
Yes, of course.
However, there are some issues with the sustainability and eco-friendliness of some faux fur companies. And I was looking into what are the most eco-friendly ones? And they exist. They're not all created equal. There are some for sure that are more eco-friendly than others. But I was thinking about it more broadly, and I was like, what? Why do we have to always replace these systems of gluttony and fur coats are so they're just such this weird elite status symbol
I'm really interested to hear you say this because I've always heard that there were, of course, the fur industry is constantly saying there are enormous environmental problems with faux fur, ignoring the enormous environmental problems caused by fur,
right?
And the chemicals that are used in processing real fur. But even aside from that, I always wondered whether there was truth in it. Apparently, there is some truth in it.
Well, yeah, there is, but it's
eco-friendly fabric in the world.
Yeah, and I really don't want to posit myself as an expert about this specifically because I've just been doing some research about it. But there are ones that are indeed more eco-friendly. But then you've got some companies making these really interesting kind of faux fur analogs with denim and things like that are better for the environment. But honestly, it brought up a question for me personally. I didn't write about this in the book, but why do we have to replace every single system? I guess
I feel that we have to because that's the only way to get people to change. But yeah, totally. Why can't we? We could live beautiful lives without either harming animals or imitating the harm of animals.
Yeah, exactly. Anyway,
but you know how everybody is. Oh, it doesn't taste exactly
the
same.
Right. Well, I want to hear the Ezra Klein thing for sure. So I will listen to that.
Yeah, it's the Ask Ezra Anything 3 Endgame. That's the name of the episode. Ask Ezra Anything 3 Endgame.
Cool. All right. I'll report back. I'll let you know when I listen to it. And now let's listen to Asher because I'm looking forward to this and he's right here on our podcast. So this is your interview with Asher Brown, who is, as I mentioned, the founder of Pollution TV, which is a mission-driven content agency in LA. And he is a leading video producer in the plant-based space with clients that are incredibly impressive. Beyond Meat, Gardein, So Delicious, Follow Your Heart, Veggie Grill.
I'm hungry now.
Were you but weren't you probably hungry before I said that?
Maybe
anyway?
A little bit, but I wasn't really thinking about it until you mentioned Beyond Meat and Gardein and whatever.
Yeah. Well, he's a passionate animal advocate too, which is one of the reasons I was excited to have him on the show. And he's having fun being a passionate animal advocate, which is something we can all aspire to be. There is definitely a lot to learn from your interview with Asher Brown. Please like us. Check us out on social media and follow, do whatever you need to do to keep us on your radar. On Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, we are at Our Hen House, all one word. Also, you can find us online at ourhenhouse.org. And if you want to get in touch with us, or if you have any questions, or if you have any quandaries that you want us to consider addressing on the air, you can email us at info@ourhenhouse.org.
Welcome to Our Hen House, Asher.
Oh, thank you so much. I'm excited to be here.
We're really excited to have you. We're excited to hear about Pollution TV and find out what it is and how it relates to veganism. So tell us all about Pollution TV.
So I run Pollution, which is a digital content agency. We have a 30,000 square foot film studio in downtown Los Angeles, and we create content for brands and nonprofits and influencers. We've worked with 40 or 50 companies in the plant-based space, and maybe 100 animal and human rights nonprofits at this point. And the idea is everybody has a story, and if we apply the best storytelling techniques to get those stories out, then our chances of changing the world go up quite a lot.
So tell us about, let's start with you do a lot of good work for a lot of good companies, but let's talk about vegan companies. What is the kind of story that they should be telling people?
Well, it's different company by company, but I think social media is such an incredible tool for ethical brands. Audiences are out there who want to support your product, and not only that, they want to be your advertising team. It's kind of amazing that you can put an ad out there on your Instagram and people will respond to it and they'll share it and they'll put their own ads out. We've done a lot of work with Beyond Meat, and seeing how the fans really helped build that brand was amazing. I don't think you get Beyond Meat to grow so quickly if you don't have hundreds of thousands of people taking pictures of their burgers and sharing their versions of their Beyond Meat story.
So for the companies themselves, if you're going to create a video, what like this is just so beyond my ken. I really don't know anything about how to sell things. What do you want in that video to really catch people's attention, especially people who aren't already on board?
Yeah, you want something entertaining. Everybody's lives are very busy, so if you don't catch them right off the bat, they're not going to pay attention. You want something that's informative in some way about your brand, but if it can be informative about the world, I think that helps as well. I like to think that every story we put out there adds a little bit of value, whether that's teaching somebody about a problem or showing them an entertaining perspective on something. And then really, I think looking at it as a conversation is the best way, especially for a brand like an ethical or conscious brand that will inspire loyalty. You're not just looking to tell somebody about something once. You're looking to start talking to them, and you tell them about you, they tell you about them, and you build a relationship with ideally every single person who is interacting with your brand.
So what preconceptions do people have about veganism and vegan products that need to be overcome?
I think the first generation of vegan products was really built as part of the animal rights movement in a lot of ways. That if you bought a certain burger, you knew that you were fighting against a certain industry. And I think vegan products now are really, for the most part, embracing the plant-based label as something that feels much more open and accessible. And if you eat plant-based every day, that's great. But if you eat plant-based more than you were before, that's also great. And it's not as much about absolutism. It's about making progress towards eating better.
Yeah, I think that's a really interesting point, and I think that is definitely how the movement has started and how vegan food has really started to grow. At the same time, people like me and most of our listeners, and I imagine you as well, are worried about the animals getting lost. Like we don't want to forget about them, and what's happening to them is still horrible. So, is there a way to make that still work? You used to see footage all the time now is of what's happening to animals. Is that just verboten? Do we not want to remind people of what's happening to animals?
Yeah, well, I think there's two pieces of it. I think with a lot of work, we can get a lot of people to care, but I don't think we can get everybody to care about animals, about people, about the planet. There's so many things that people should be caring about, but maybe just don't have the bandwidth. So I think that's a part of the fight that always needs to continue. But I also think there's an economic piece of it as well. It's hard to say you need to buy this really expensive meal because it's better for animals that you don't see. It's a lot easier to say, here's this meal that is fantastic and affordable. And I think that's really an economic play that companies need to have a market. They need to sell more. They need to sell so much that they can build bigger factories and reduce the price. And there's many things involved in it. But when a plant-based burger becomes cheaper than an animal-based burger, I think a lot of people will join the movement who hadn't thought about it before.
Yeah, and I think they won't even as you say, they won't even necessarily join the movement. They'll just stop buying animal bodies, which is a really good thing. I feel like veganism as a concept has even the animal side of it has entered the mainstream in the UK and Germany and Israel. Certainly in Israel, the animals have been a huge piece of it in ways that it really hasn't here yet, maybe starting to. But why do you think that those countries have really forged ahead so quickly?
I don't know. I look at it sometimes and I wonder, why isn't the entire world like Greta Thunberg or Genesis Butler, young kids who really care about every piece of making the planet better. And I think the reality is that as adults, we have so many things that we're worrying about, and we just don't have bandwidth, or we don't open ourselves up to caring about everything. And I think every time we can get someone to care about something that affects people other than themselves, we open them up a little bit towards the broader message of compassion.
Do you think there's something about the way that vegan companies have marketed in those countries specifically, or something about the culture that has made it more successful there? I mean, not that those countries have become completely vegan, but that we could tap into?
Yeah, well, I think I spent a lot of time in London with a couple of clients over there, and I think that's really been the last 5 years that I've seen veganism take off.
Totally. It's been so recent.
Yeah. And I think it's really been just a matter of scale. Is that once my restaurant sees that your restaurant is selling vegan dishes, well, then I need to sell something or I'm going to lose customers. And I think as that happens, then the animal rights message gets louder, it gets better funded, it gets more media attention. But I think that the things go hand in hand, that you can't have one without the other.
You mentioned Genesis Butler, and she's, of course, amazing, and I think probably a lot of our listeners are familiar with her. But for those of you who aren't, tell us a little bit about her. And I think that you've been working with her on the recent project. Is that right? The $1 Million Vegan Project? So tell us about that as well.
That's correct. Genesis Butler is, I can easily say, the most amazing 12-year-old that I know, but possibly one of the most amazing people that I know. She is a animal rights and environmental activist. She was the youngest person to ever give a TEDx talk. She's been speaking all around the world, and we've been following her with a documentary crew for the $1 Million Vegan campaign, as she has gathered signatures on a letter asking the Pope to go vegan for Lent. And then a couple of weeks ago, we went to the Vatican with her to deliver that letter to a senior Vatican official to give to the Pope.
Just tell us a little bit about how it is working with her, and do you think she'll continue to be a powerful force for the animals? And do you expect to get any response to that letter to the Pope, or do you think that project is over?
Yeah, so we got a letter back from the Vatican thanking Genesis for caring about the planet and offering the Pope's prayers. So I think the Vatican is a slow-moving ship, and the fact
that's for sure.
The fact they received our letter, they invited us into the Vatican for a meeting with a senior official. They delivered the letter to the Pope and wrote back. I think that means they're thinking about veganism, and so to me that feels like a really huge win for the $1 Million Vegan campaign.
And also, it reached an enormous number of people with its messaging, right? It wasn't just the Pope who heard about it.
Yeah, definitely. I think the idea was always the Pope is a leader of people, and by talking to the leader, everybody who looks up to the Pope can really understand the message. And along this journey with Genesis, we filmed 50 different videos, all based on interviews with environmental scientists and religious leaders and activists and athletes and doctors and celebrities. And so really being able to understand this issue from so many different perspectives, many of which I knew, but a lot I didn't know, and Genesis didn't know, and being able to share those stories with everyone, I think really helped make this a broader movement than just about the Pope specifically.
So speaking of athletes, Jasmine recently interviewed Dotsie Bausch, and they talked a bit about Switch for Good. And for those of our listeners who missed that interview, can you tell us a little bit about what that is and also what your involvement has been in it?
Yeah, Switch for Good is a dairy-free athlete nonprofit. It's the largest gathering of dairy-free athletes in the world. And the idea behind it is that more and more athletes are dropping dairy from their diets for health reasons, for performance reasons, and for ethical reasons. And by giving them a platform to join together, we could help really amplify their individual voices. And for better or for worse, a lot of people will not listen to a doctor when a doctor says, this is not healthy. But when Olympic sprinter Malachi Davis said, I stopped drinking milk and the next day I ran faster, people really understand that and they'll listen to him. And I co-founded the nonprofit with Dotsie about a year ago. My agency Pollution was brought in to help launch Switch for Good. And so in the year of launch, we filmed a broadcast commercial that aired during the Winter Olympics on NBC. We hosted the first Dairy-Free Athlete Summit, and we filmed, I think, 100 videos and launched their social media channels. So I'm very proud of Switch. It was a baby that we came in to help give birth to, and now we're handing it off to the internal team, and I'm very excited to support them and all the work they're doing from here on out.
Yeah, I feel like athletes have become such an important focus for vegan advocacy. And, I kind of wonder, most people in the world aren't athletes, but yet when athletes talk about improving their performance, I think it really reaches a lot of people who don't necessarily see themselves as athletes. Why do you think these are such important voices? Do you think it's because we're still dispelling rumors about how veganism isn't good for you, and these people are the folks to do it?
Yeah, definitely. I think first off, one of the things that we really tried to, one of the myths we tried to dispel with Switch for Good is that only certain people are athletes. I think an athlete is anybody who cares about their body and cares about how their body performs in their day-to-day lives. So if you take the stairs, if you walk somewhere, if you try to go to the gym, I think all of these are things that an athlete does. And I think that the more we can all think of ourselves as athletes and our bodies as really amazing, complicated machines, I think the better off we are. One of my good friends, Lani Munter, is a vegan race car driver, and she talks about how we spend all this time thinking about exactly what we're going to put into our car and making sure that exactly the right gasoline goes in, especially for race cars. And then we put just the worst fuels possible into our bodies. And I think that thinking like an athlete means really understanding that the fuel you put in affects the performance that comes out. And I think, to answer your question, people listen to athletes because an athlete spends his or her entire life thinking about food. When you hear that Tom Brady doesn't drink dairy and is mostly vegan during the football season, you know that it's not because he loves animals, because he understands that these foods are not good for him. They're not part of a high-performance diet, and he has the best nutritionists and sports scientists in the world because he's Tom Brady, and they've collectively helped him understand that these are foods he shouldn't eat. And so when you hear that, you know that he doesn't have a secret agenda, because his agenda is to win Super Bowls.
Yeah, that's really true. And just the fact of somebody, a big athlete like Tom Brady or whatever, just the fact that they follow a vegan diet shortcuts all of the scientific you don't, because the scientific arguments go back and forth, and this one says this and that one says that, and then there's low carb and there's paleo and what, there's a million different things. But then one person who's just a vibrant athlete who is performing at a very high level, it takes all the arguments out of it. It's proof positive.
It helps show that whatever you think a vegan looks like, you're wrong. Because vegans look like everyone. They look like athletes. They look like scientists. They look like kids. They come in all shapes and sizes from all countries and all economic groups. Veganism is really a movement for every person who cares about what they eat and the consequences of that food.
So I know you're doing like many different things, and now I'm going to prove it because I'm going to ask you about the vegan prom. What is the vegan prom?
So the vegan prom is a fundraising gala that we hosted for the Humane League last year, and we're going to host again this year. Moby came and DJ'd. Everybody dressed up. We raised money for an amazing nonprofit and really got to celebrate the successes of the movement. And I think a lot of focus is being spent with good reason on the work that still has to be done. And I think I like to make sure that we stop every now and then and really celebrate all the work that we have done. And the fact that you can get a room of amazing people together to dance and eat vegan food to celebrate the Humane League, I think that's a wonderful moment. And I'm really happy that my studio could be used to support it. I'm really proud of the Pollution team for helping to organize quite a large event.
But in addition to, I hear you're quite the party thrower. And in addition to the prom, that you organize a number of outrageous vegan parties throughout the year. I heard something about a s'more. Can you unpack all of this?
Yeah. So we throw quite a few parties. We do a vegan Thanksgiving potluck with a few hundred people every fall. We do the prom in the spring, and in the summer, we throw Ash Bash, which is my birthday party. Last year, we had 600 people, and as part of the party, we partnered with Dandy's to set a world record for the largest ever s'more. The previous record, I think, was 400 pounds, and it was a non-vegan s'more. And so we obviously wanted ours to be vegan. So we got 300 pounds of Dandy's and 200 pounds of Enjoy Life chocolate. And we had some chefs coming out and custom making graham crackers. And then every guest at the party had to toast marshmallows because we had quite a lot of marshmallows to toast.
I don't know whether to think that sounds like really fun or just absolutely horrifying.
It was both. There was definitely a moment when we realized we had to really up it a notch, and we started corralling people towards the fire pits.
So was it the world's largest s'more?
It was the world's largest s'more. We had we did it through Guinness, so we had some officials come out to do weights and measures and to make sure that we were following all the protocol. And then we submitted the video and the witness testimony to them. And it takes about 10 months to hear back, so we haven't gotten the official yet. But we had someone there who weighed it, and our s'more weighed 100 pounds more than the previous record. So we are awarding ourselves a victory lap.
Do you still have s'more sitting in your studio? Will you have it there for the next 5 years? Like, have some s'more.
Oh, yeah. if you want to come down, you can have all the s'more you want. It's delicious.
So what is the Vegan Directors Club?
Yeah, so I am a director and I am a vegan, and there are quite a few amazing vegan directors who I work with. And I feel like as a vegan director, sometimes you feel very isolated. And I think that as a vegan creative, that probably extends also, that you're making this work for commercial clients in a non-vegan world. And you think that that's the normal. And so at Pollution, we have a lot of amazing vegan directors who we give homes to. When they have projects, we support them. When we film projects, they help us, trying to support as many vegan directors as possible, and trying to support non-vegan directors and show them what vegan food looks like.
You sound like you do really have your pulse on veganism and what's going on, and on the world of s'mores and all of it. What's the next big thing
in veganism?
Yeah.
I think there's really going to be a moment of profound change in the movement, and I think you mentioned this earlier. In the beginning, the movement was animal rights activists who lived and breathed veganism, and this was their passion, this was their cause. And I think as the commercial brands take up so much of the leadership role, the new generation of vegans is maybe not as all consumed by the movement. And maybe the new generation is not even 100% vegan. Maybe they're vegetarians, maybe they're flexitarians. So all these people are coming in who align with our values, but are not as passionate about the core cause as the original vegans were. And I think the challenge is, how do we stay true to our beliefs and our ideals while also really supporting and welcoming this new group? It's really interesting talking to a lot of young vegans. They watched videos on YouTube. They saw Instagrammers who they liked, and they said, "Oh, this makes sense. I'm going to go vegan." And for a lot of them, it wasn't a profound decision. It was just something that seemed right, and they did. And I think the more the movement can support people who are casually connected, the more we can really make this a warm, welcoming place for everyone, and make it clear that you don't have to be 100% everything to be part of this movement. You just have to care about what you eat and care about the people and the animals and the planet that get affected by your choices.
This has always been the huge challenge, I think, and I think it is becoming a place. We're getting to a place where it's a hugely important challenge because there are so many people coming in. The challenge of, if you're coming from the point of view that our listeners come from, and that you probably come from, of being welcoming to people who aren't 100% vegan without, betraying the ideals of that each animal matters. And I think it's become an even more important challenge, as we've seen that's how we're going to grow this movement. But I feel, and I guess I'm asking you, but I imagine you feel that we still have to find a way to hold on to the core.
Yeah, we do, and I think we also need to understand that people are animals too, and compassion to animals and compassion to people need to go hand in hand. And I think part of that means reaching out to groups that have been underserved by the vegan movement, and understanding that not everyone is motivated by exactly the same things. And I think that's also being more loving to each other and to ourselves. There was a article in The Economist a few months ago that said, I believe 85 to 90% of people who go vegan or vegetarian don't stick. And I think we spend so much time worrying about how to get new people to go vegan, but we don't spend a lot of time thinking about how we support people who are already vegan. And I think this includes ourselves. And I think the more that we can do to really support and welcome each other, the better off the movement will be. And I would love to see people and organizations spending more time saying, how can we support each other? How can we support ourselves?
So I know that you're a supporter of a sanctuary, and is that true? And Kindred Spirits, is that a sanctuary? And do you feel that's one way to bring the message of animals in a gentle way to people who are as you pointed out so interestingly, willing to say, yeah, I go vegan. That seems like a good idea, but maybe aren't as familiar with all of the deeper reasons.
Yeah, I absolutely love sanctuaries. The Kindred Spirits Care Farm is one of my favorites. It's located in Los Angeles, in the Valley, so not out in the middle of the woods. And it's located at a school for troubled kids. So the kids are there because they've had tough things in their lives, and the rescue animals are there because they've had tough lives as well. And you don't need to push any kind of agenda to show kids that animals are worthy of our love. And I think it's so hard to grow up in the United States, especially, and understand what an animal is. There are billions of animals, of farm animals all around us, but we never know them. The only times we meet a pig is either in a kid's book where they're on a make-believe farm running around, or on a dinner plate. And how do you really understand how smart and emotional and creative a pig is if you've never met a pig? And so the sanctuary movement is such an amazing opportunity to show people what animals are, to really start that conversation. Before I tell you why I think an animal's life is important, I need to introduce you to an animal. And the Kindred Spirits Care Farm is one of my favorites because every single day kids are meeting animals and learning how to take care of them.
So before I let you go, I just have to tap into your expertise a little about social media. Can you just give us 3 rules for expanding your social media presence? Because I think everybody who cares about animals understands that the better they are on social media, the more effect they can have for animals. And so you're the pro. I have to warn you that I have been saying constantly on the podcast of late that I hate social media. It's driving me crazy, which is completely true. I'm in one of those episodes where I'm like, I cannot stand to go on this today, but I have to. So tell me how to get better at it.
Okay, great. Well, this is going to be your pep talk. And,
that's exactly what I need.
I do a lot of social media coaching with Olympic athletes, with CEOs, with entertainers, and they all come from the same place, is that social media feels like a deep pit that you could throw an endless amount of content into. And so I want to say, whatever you do is great. Let's start with that. The right amount of social media that you should be doing is the amount of social media that you feel comfortable with. So I think treating it like a part of your job would make it easier. Like, I'm going to post 3 times per week. I'm going to write the posts every Saturday. I'm going to schedule them. And that's the amount of time that I'm allotting to this. So if you can contain it, I think you'll be happier. And setting those boundaries, whatever feels good. You don't have to say I need to do more. You just have to do whatever you feel good at. The second thing is I really want to underscore how incredible social media is. If I came to you 20 years ago and I could say, I can identify thousands of people who want to listen to your message, and I could get them all in one place, and anytime you want to speak to them, I can make sure that you get that out. You would have said that's incredible. And that's what social media is. And social media is also a community, which is the thing that the vegan movement, I believe, has been missing for so long. And I don't think it's an accident that the vegan and plant-based movements have exploded in the last few years, right at the time that Instagram has taken off. When I went vegetarian at 9 years old, I was the only vegetarian that I knew, and my mom cried because she thought I was going to get sick because she didn't have any examples of athletes like Kendrick Ferris to show, oh no, I can be big and strong.
I'm sorry for laughing at your mom, but it is kind of funny.
No, and it came from a place of love.
Of course.
And how amazing would it have been if I could say, oh no, look, Mom, here's Instagram. Look at all of these amazing vegans out there living healthy, thriving lives. And now I'm in this community. I'm not alone anymore. There are millions of people who are using vegan hashtags. And I also like to say that every time you take a picture of your food and you hashtag it vegan, you're being an activist. You are saying, I'm eating vegan. Vegan is normal, it's healthy, it's fun. And if people see that enough, then they stop thinking of veganism as a fringe movement. So even the smallest thing that you do is part of something really big. And then I think the piece that people miss out on is the commenting, liking, and sharing is a really profound form of activism. The Instagram algorithm prioritizes posts that have more likes, more comments, more shares. So if there is an influencer or a group of influencers who you believe in, the best way to support their work is to routinely like and comment on their posts. I have a lot of friends who don't do social media, but I've talked them into that. You go in a couple times a week, follow 20 people and organizations that you care about, and just give them your support. Because a few hundred people liking a post gets it out there, gets it seen more, gets that really important message out there. And it also shows support. There's something really amazing about putting out a picture of a vegan meal that I ate or talking about a project that I'm working on and having people say, oh, I think you're doing great work. Or, even clicking the like button. It sounds silly, but when you're used to doing this all alone, to have people who you form a community with showing you that they support you is incredible. And it's incredible for content creators. It's incredible for brands, but even more so, I think it's incredible for people who are new to veganism or are thinking about veganism, to really show support. I think one of the best things that we can do is when a non-vegan friend posts a vegan picture to show them we're watching, we care, we like it, and all of the rushes you get from seeing people like your pictures on social media, which can be so damaging in some ways for people getting really addicted to the rush, can also be so powerful if that rush is, look, I posted something positive for the world and people liked it. Well, I'm going to post more positive things. And how much more vegan food can I eat for more posts? And it's a wonderful reinforcing cycle, but it only works if we're all active and we're all supporting each other and we're all hashtagging and liking and commenting.
Well, that was indeed inspiring. I feel like I'm going to go out with my iPhone, take a picture, and get it up there. So, yeah, thank you for getting me back on track, and thank you for all the stuff you're doing and for sharing it today on our Hen House. It sounds like you're not only changing the world, but you're having a lot of fun.
I am having fun. It's fun to be compassionate, and it's fun to be surrounded by people who really care about what the world looks like.
It really is. So thank you for being one of them. It's been great to get to meet you on our Hen House.
Yeah, I really appreciate your work.
Did you know that our Hen House publishes ebooks? Hen Press's latest is Maureen by Anat Pick. This complex and beautiful essay has something truly new to say about how we treat the vulnerable among us, whether they are the frail elderly hidden away in nursing homes or the animals who end up on our plates. Also, you've probably heard by now about the raging controversy regarding the Liberian chimpanzees abandoned to starve by the New York Blood Center. If you want the truly unbelievable backstory on those chimps, a tale of quote-unquote love, betrayal, civil war, and so much more, don't miss The Lines We Draw by Sangu Iyer. Hen Press's books are available wherever ebooks are sold, or go to ourhenhouse.org and click on Hen Press to find out more.
Anxieties are rising. All right, our first story is from drovers.com, and I know this is old news, but they just keep saying the same thing over and over again. So what can I do? This is a column by Dan Murphy, one of our favorite, quote-unquote, favorite commentators. He's been around a long time. And the title of this column is The Importance of Being Ethical. And Dan thinks it's important to be ethical, and so do I. So, we're kind of on the same page. Not exactly on the same page about what we think is ethical. So he starts off by pointing out that animal rights activists, veganistas, I really like that term. I'm going to call myself a veganista, and eco-warriors have coalesced on the message that raising livestock and eating meat is unhealthy and unethical. Guess what? So's the